Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'd like to call to order the special city council meeting for July 15, 2020. If you would please stand for a moment of silence, then the Pledge of Allegiance. Thank you. Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Can we have a roll call, please?
Mayor Dodd?
I'm sorry.
Mayor Dodd?
Yes, here.
Vice Mayor Motti?
Present.
Councilmember Gilliams?
Here.
Councilmember Hill?
Here.
And Councilmember Paris is not here yet.
Okay,
No,
one
no
second.
Zoom?
If you don't
Okay.
mind, let me connect my hearing aids to the T-coil so I can hear what's being said. Thank you. Okay, before I get into this, if the council has no problems with it, I'd like to just do a brief review of the mask stuff since what was going on the last week, that the discussions at the county commission. I had a couple phone calls today about what Sebastian's mask rules are, and I kind of like just cover them for a second if you don't mind. I know it's not on the agenda. Sebastian's mask policy is relatively simple. If you come into any of the Sebastian-owned buildings, they're going to check you on the entry and they're going to ask you to wear a mask on the inside. We do practice social distancing. Workers are required in enclosed spaces like restaurants, grocery stores, or so forth to wear a mask within the city of Sebastian, but the patrons are encouraged to wear a mask. It hasn't gone so far as to require that. And with the action that took place at the county commission this week, since we follow along with the county on most things, we probably won't try to go through a requirement on that. Customers in stores, though, as I said, are encouraged to do that. However, there are businesses who are beginning to require a mask, and if the business requires the mask, you're obligated to wear it to go into business. Walmart is going to begin this policy, I believe, this coming Friday, so you're not going to be able to go into Walmart without a mask. And I don't think they're going to have a whole lot of patience for people to try to walk through the door without the mask at Walmart. And so other businesses may begin to do that as we move forward. I just wanted to cover that because I did have some calls today and ask about what the city's policy was, even though we did this, I think, 2 meetings ago or something like that?
Yes.
I just want to make sure I reminded people of that. Okay, the special meeting item. I'm going to turn this over to City Attorney Manny Anon. He's, I think, on Zoom. Are you there, Manny?
Mr. Mayor.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, and when you make those special presentations, I think you should, out of courtesy, look to Charles and ask if he wants to add to it. And I think you should look over to me and ask if I want to add to it, since we're giving you the permission to go ahead and proceed with talking about the mask. So in the future,
Okay.
Charles may want to add something, I may want to add something. I just want you to...
I'm sorry I brought it up, but would you like to add something?
No, I just want you to be considerate.
Okay,
that's
thank
all.
you. Thank you. I'm turning this over to the city attorney now, please.
Okay,
Thank you, Mayor Dodd.
Yes.
Okay, thank you very much, Mayor Dodd. Vice Mayor, council members, I appreciate the opportunity again to come before you, and I apologize in advance. I am once again asking that we meet. I need advice concerning the litigation which is pending or still currently pending before us with the Pelican Island Society case, Audubon Society case, the AKA annexation. Specifically, what I'm asking for advice is concerning the settlement. Again, negotiations. An issue came up. It should be simple, but I need to make council aware of it and make sure we make a full decision based on that. Just like last time, Mr. Mayor and council members, Vice Mayor and council members, I'm making this request pursuant to the law, which is 286.011, subsection 8. That provides that there are certain limited exceptions that we're allowed to have this conversation in private between the attorney and the client, in this case, the council. And that does allow me to have that conversation with you. Just like last time, there will be limitations. Obviously, will be limited. Just like last time, you'll be able to start in a public meeting. I think the councilwoman Paris just joined us. Ma'am, you want me to start all over again, or are you okay? Your mic, ma'am, your mic.
Pam just joined.
All right, I just missed a few minutes. I'm sure we're fine. I understand this.
Okay, yeah, and it's just like last time, Councilwoman Paris, it's just like last time. It's going to be pursuant to the statute. The same parties will be present, which means there'll be a court reporter from beginning to end. The council members will be there, the attorneys will be there, and the city manager will also be there at this public at this meeting. I believe it's just a very limited issue that I need to raise your awareness to for negotiations. I don't anticipate this is going to take more than, I won't say 20 minutes, but being on a safe side, 30, 40 minutes, or give it like an hour. My recommendation would probably, since there's no urgency, technically, we have time, is probably to set it right before the 22nd July meeting, meaning we start like an hour or 30 minutes before or 45 minutes before, and then we go in, we open it up, and then we go into the session. That would be my recommendation, Mr. Mayor, and subject to any questions, that's all I have.
Mayor Dodd,
Yes, sir.
make a motion that we have a shade meeting on Wednesday, the 22nd, starting at 5 p.m.
Do I have a second on that motion? I'll second that motion. Okay, thank you. Does anyone else have something they want to add to this?
Yeah, absolutely. I see that the city attorney is apologizing in advance. And I think I know what it's about. And to me, it looks like it's a do-over. It's not simple. Actually, it's a very complicated matter. And I think it was very neglectful on his part that it did not get covered at that last executive session. It's very serious, very serious. And if the community, because I'm about full transparency, and this is
Don't go there.
this is public record. This is
Don't
public
go
record.
there. Councilmember Gilliams, don't go there.
We have an annexation agreement.
Don't go there.
Why wasn't this put in our packet, Mr.? I'm asking a question. Why
Councilmember
wasn't-
Gilliams, you
why was
cannot go there outside the
I'm
executive
asking you a
session.
question. Why was this not put in our packet? Why is it
We'll
this
talk
information?
about that at the executive
You-
session.
You expect us to make important decisions, very important decisions.
What I expect you to do is follow the law, and the law says we cannot discuss this outside the
I'm not
executive
discussing
session.
it. I'm not discussing it. What I'm
You are
saying is,
discussing it.
for me to make educated decisions on behalf of this community, I need the annexation agreements in front of me, even before this meeting. Okay?
Okay,
And-
you
and-
have an opportunity between now and the 22nd of July to read that
well,
document that was given you
What's
tonight.
tomorrow's meeting about?
There is no meeting tomorrow. I just put this down on the 16th. The city attorney just recommended that we do it prior to the meeting on the 22nd of July. The motion was placed on the floor that we do it
I
prior to
saw
the meeting
that.
on the 22nd of July.
Mr. Mayor, I'm quite aware of
Mayor
that.
Dodd,
So,
Yes, sir.
Mayor Dodd,
Yes, sir.
excuse me, I have the floor.
if I'm not mistaken, Mr. Gilliams was provided the annexation agreement prior to the first shade meeting we had when we went into decided whether or not we were going to pursue this in court.
No, that's not
Let's-
correct.
We've all
Yes.
seen the
Okay, Council-
annexation agreement.
Yeah,
So
all
isn't
this information was
something
available.
that he hasn't had.
Yes.
He has had the annexation agreement and he's seen
Page
it.
9 of the annexation agreement was not provided to me before that last executive session.
Okay.
Okay? And I have the packet, and we can go to the clerk and confirm that. So that's a nice spin. But I need to be full transparent with this community, because what's going to happen is very serious. What's going to transpire at that executive session, I can see it coming. I see the writing on the wall. And with the attorney's permission, I'd like to go ahead and quote page 9.
Councilmember Gilliams, you are not to go there.
It's public record.
You are not to go there.
It's public record.
You are
I want to
not
ask the
to go
city
there.
attorney if I have permission to let the public know
No,
on page
the
9.
attorney is not making this. I am. I'm the chair of this meeting. You are not to go there. You can talk about this at the executive session. You are not
Can
to
I
go
get a
there in
point of
public
order?
tonight.
Can I get a point of order?
Suspend.
Can I get a point of order?
You sure?
Okay.
You're not, the point of order, I'm going to deny it, so make it, I'll deny it, we'll vote on it, but you're
Thank
not
you.
to go there. You
Well,
cannot talk
all
about
right,
this.
I'm asking, you denied it, now I'm asking for a vote. I want to have the opportunity to read this into the record. And it's public record, page 9 of the annexation agreement.
Which you had.
So,
I had page 9 of the
You had
annexation
that,
agreement
you
last
know
November when we talked about this, and so
the
did you.
annexation
yeah, I
agreement.
understand it, but now we just got an order from the judge quashing everything, and this plays a big role in it.
You had the annexation agreement. You've read it. You know what's on it. Well, maybe you
Okay,
didn't
so
read it.
then you
but
would have
maybe
a problem with
you
me
didn't know.
reading it to the public, Mr. Hill.
Why do you
Because-
refuse to do things the right way?
I am doing it the
I'd
right
like
way,
to hear
full
it.
transparency.
Well,
Full
guess what, Pam?
transparency.
You have it too. Why don't you read it yourself?
Well, I asked Mr. Carlisle for it earlier today.
You were provided it a long time ago.
Thank you, Pam.
I'd like to see it again, too.
Well, you have a copy of it, did you? But that would have been made available if you were here tonight, but the clerk will have that for you. And you also had a
Mr.
copy
Mayor?
of it last November. We all did.
Mr. Mayor,
November.
Yes, last November.
Mr. Mayor,
I was sworn in last November. Pardon me, Mayor Dodd, but I was brand new to this. Still pretty new myself. So I'd like to see it. I think it should have been provided
Well,
before the executive.
if you had been here this evening, you'd have a copy of it in front of you right now, and
should have been
you'll
on
get
her-
that in your mailbox from the
It should have
clerk's
been in her
office.
packet. When you call a
Mr.
special
Mayor?
meeting, you provide those documents. If you want us to go ahead and make good decisions on behalf of the community, you provide the necessary documents as to what we're going to discuss at that meeting. And I know what we're going to discuss.
Mr. Mayor, if I can,
Yes.
I have no problem. And what I was planning on doing, once we get the date, is to provide the annexation agreement to everyone. And if anyone wants to have a discussion with me about the specific language, they're more than welcome to give me a call. You know, I'm not on military duty, but I'm more than glad to meet with you or
When
talk
can
to
we
you.
expect that, Manny?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you, ma'am.
When can we expect that, please?
Well, once we decide, once the council gives consensus that we are going to have this meeting, I'll be more than glad to forward it as soon as we get
have-
out the computer.
We all have a copy of it in front of us, the ones in the room. The
We have
ones
no-
calling in by Zoom don't because they're not here, and it will be in their box. It was placed in their box, I
We
believe.
have no choice but to have this meeting, according to this document. And I see that
Exactly.
smile on
So
your
why
face,
are you
Mr.
being
Mayor.
such a-
Look,
We have no, and we should have discussed this at the last executive meeting if somebody was on top of their game. Somebody's
Yes,
liable.
we should have.
They should have did their due diligence. 2 lawyers were at that meeting, and they didn't catch this. And it's going to come out. You can rest
Oh,
assured,
yes,
Mr.
it is.
Mayor.
It's all going to
So,
come
all right,
out,
let's get
Mr.
on. Let's have the
Gilliam.
meeting. We don't have a choice. Let's call,
Great,
unless
let's take a
Charles
vote
has something
then.
to say.
Let's take a vote then.
Well, no, I
all
want
right,
to respect Charles.
but
Maybe
before
he
we
has
go any further with this, since it is listed on the agenda not as a member matter, I am going to open it up to the public for discussion. Anyone from the public like to discuss this item? And you can only discuss the scheduling of an executive session. You didn't know I was going to do that, did you? No? Okay, sorry, guys.
Well, I had a point of order on the floor, too, Mr. Mayor.
I'm waiting for you to say it. You just said point of order. You have to tell me what it is.
Well, you were not going to allow me to read page 9 of the annexation agreement, 9
So
of 13.
what is your point of order?
And you shut me down, and I appealed it, and I'm asking for
Okay,
this board.
wait, but.
I'm asking for this board to allow me to read it into the record. That's what I'm asking for.
Okay, and I'm overruling that.
Okay, let's have a vote and see if,
Let's have a vote.
let's see.
A
if-
yes vote on this accepts my overrule of Councilmember Gilliams on that point of order. Would you call a roll call, please?
Councilmember Gilliams.
Yes.
Councilmember Hill.
No,
No,
because we
I
all
believe
had the
Councilmember Gilliams
annexation
voted in
agreement.
my favor on the
Well, you just said that
overrule.
you're going to allow me to go ahead and
Oh,
read
you
it. So-
are-
No, a
really
yes
yes.
vote means you agree
Then
with
it's
me.
a no
voted
vote.
yes.
Then
Okay,
it's a no
stop
let's
vote.
start this
talking to me
over again.
for 2
Let's start,
seconds.
stop for a second. Let's start the roll call over again. I overruled Councilmember Gilliams' ability to read that document. A yes vote agrees with my overrule.
Fair enough. My
No,
bad.
it's a no vote for me.
It's a yes because it's public record and everyone has the damn thing already.
Okay. Councilmember Paris,
No.
Mayor Dodd,
Yes?
and Vice Mayor Motti.
No. Okay.
So I get to read it. Here we go.
No, you're not going to get to read it. The attorney's going to get to read it. Mr.
Okay.
Mr. Enon, would you read?
Page 9, the
Would
entire.
would you read on the annexation agreement? I'd like for you to begin, if you don't mind, so it's possible for everybody to understand, at item number 13, general terms, subsection D.
No, Mr. Mayor.
That
that's not- no.
includes everything on page 9.
Page, okay, but I
That
wanted
includes
to make
everything on
sure it
page
goes
9.
from, should there be any legal challenge to this annexation all the way down to the end?
Would you suspend and allow it to be done the right way?
Sure, go
Mr.
right
Anand,
ahead.
reading the whole subsection puts the whole thing in context, so if you do that, please.
Just give me 1 second to pull it up on my computer.
I will do that.
Mr. Mayor.
We got nothing to hide, right, Mr. Mayor?
I don't have anything to hide.
Let's do our due diligence.
Actually, when I was asked to call this meeting, and I tried my best not to do it because I knew exactly what it was going to be. There is no covert attempt here on my part to do anything. There was a piece of information that was vital that we weren't provided.
I know.
And it needs to be provided. And I know you and your conspiracy theories, you always believe that's done on purpose. Believe me, it's not. If I was so good at conspiracy theories, you wouldn't be on the
Mr.
council.
Mayor, it should have been brought to our last executive session. We wouldn't be here
Yes.
right now. We would have made a proper decision at that point in time. And Mr. City Attorney just apologized in advance.
Would you
The
please
city
just,
attorney didn't make a mistake in this thing.
Yeah.
We should have been, this information, if it were to be brought forward to us, should have been brought forward by our outside counsel. So I know, Damien, that you love to bang on our staff, but you are wrong, sir, as normal.
Okay, I'm entitled to my opinion, Mr.
Regardless,
Hill.
it was negligent.
okay,
Regardless.
we're waiting for Mr. Anand
Oh,
to get that.
negligence. So is that criminal there, Ms. Paris?
No.
Oh, it's not. Oh, okay.
All right, guys, let's just calm down a little bit. Let the city attorney read section 9, or actually read section D, section 13, subsection D. And by the way, for anybody out here in Zoom land, in TV land, or in the room, this document has been on the city's webpage since October of last year and available to anybody to download.
Mr. Mayor, can you hear me? Can you hear me, Mr. Mayor?
I can hear you, yes, sir.
Can you, because I have you like a little small screen, and where exactly on page 9?
Well, I don't, my concern is if you hunt and peck on page 9, that's going to be inconsistent. I would like for you to read under section 13, general terms, subsection D, which encompasses all of page 9 and the bottom of page 8. The last two sentences of page 8.
Okay, so again, for the record, we can make this a copy of it for the clerk to put into the record, but I'm starting on the bottom of page 8 of 13, D as in Delta. It says this annexation is subject to various provisions contained in Chapter 171 Florida statute, municipal annexation or contractions. A portion of the boundary of the, let me scroll down, of the property is contiguous to the city. Contiguous is defined in section 171.03111 Florida statute to mean, quote, that a substantial part of a boundary of the territory sought to be annexed by a municipality is coterminous with a part of the boundary of the municipality, end of quote. Should there be any legal challenge to the annexation of the property, whether based on contiguity, enclave, or any other theory, the owner agrees to assume all risks associated with the challenge. The owner further agrees to indemnify and hold harmless the city from all claims, suits, and judgments in any way arising out of or relating to the annexation of the property.
Who's the owner?
This,
Who's the owner?
You know
Stop
who the
interrupting
owner
while
is.
he's
It's
trying to
Graves
read,
Brothers.
man. You want him to read something, let him read it.
Let him read it.
Who's the owner?
The owner is
Graves
Graves Brothers.
Oh, thank you. Just wanted to clarify that. Thank you.
Idiot.
Good clarification.
Thank you.
you guys can ask clarifications at the end when I read it. I appreciate that.
For the
All right.
public.
This indemnity and hold harmless shall extend to all costs, fees, and expenses, including but not limited to reasonable attorney fees and expert witnesses fees incurred by the city in the investigation or defense of any challenge to the annexation whatsoever, including but not limited to Chapter 164, Chapter 171, and any legal challenge filed in court, including all levels of court and any attorney's fees that the city may be ordered to pay pursuant to 171.081 Florida statute, collectively a third-party claim. You scroll down. Promptly after receipt of notice of the making, I'm sorry, I went too far. making or commencement of any third party of any claim, action, lawsuit, or proceedings as to which indemnification may be sought, open paren, third party claim, close paren, the city shall notify the owner. Failure to do so shall not relieve owner from any liability that it may have under this section unless owner is prejudiced by the lack of such notice, provided that in such case owner shall not be responsible for that portion of the liability caused by the prejudice resulting from the lack of notice. Let me scroll down a little bit more. If any such third-party claim is brought against the city, owner shall be entitled to participate and to the extent they may elect by written notice delivered promptly to the city after receiving notice from the city to assume defense with counsel reasonably satisfactory to the city. The parties agree to cooperate fully in connection with the defense, negotiations, or settlement of any such legal proceedings, claim, or demand. The city shall have the right to employ counsel in any such case with counsel reasonably acceptable to the owner and fees and expense of this counsel. Going on to page 10. Shall be at the expense of the city, subject to reimbursement from the owner. In any event, these fees and expenses of the city council shall be borne by owner. Owner may not settle any third-party claim without the consent of the city. After any final judgment or award has been rendered by a court, arbitration board, or administrative agency of competent jurisdiction, and the time in which to appeal from it has expired. A settlement has been consummated, or owner and the city arrive at a mutually binding agreement with respect to each separate matters alleged to be indemnified by owner. The city shall forward to owner notice of any sums due and owing by it with respect to the matter, and owner immediately shall pay all the sums owing by wire transfer or certified a bank cashier check to the city. That's the entire section 13.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Mr. City Attorney. I appreciate that. Mr. Mayor, I still have the floor, correct?
Yeah.
No
Okay,
problem.
good. So I wanted to emphasize that part of that annexation agreement to the other council members, since it's important that...
That's going to happen in the executive session. You're not arguing it tonight.
Once again,
We're
I'm
only
not
here to
asking
schedule an
Mr.
executive
Mayor,
session.
I am not asking to argue strategy. What I want to do, since I cannot talk to Charles and Pam and...
What I'm telling you, sir, this item says schedule executive session.
I'm asking them to
That's all
do
you're
their
gonna
due
do.
diligence on that page, very important document there, so that when they do show up at that executive session, they understand what they're voting for.
I believe the two of them are adult enough to do that. They don't need guidance from you all the time.
I'm not
Thank you,
offering
sir.
guidance,
You're not going to argue the case in the public session.
I'm not looking to argue the case, Mr. Mayor.
You are not going to argue this case in the public session.
What I am doing is to tell my cohorts to take the, listen, I have the
We're in a
right.
10-minute recess.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
I'd like public comment to come forward, please.
Excuse me, Mr. Mayor, I still had the floor.
I'm asking for public comment, then you
No,
can
no,
have the floor back.
You cannot recess me. I still have one question for the city attorney after what he just read, and I'm not relinquishing.
Dodd.
I'm not
Mayor Dodd.
Yes.
relinquishing
Point
the
of
floor.
order.
Yes, sir.
Point of order, Mayor Dodd.
Yes, sir.
We as a council have given you the authority to run these meetings, and I will respect your decision on going to public input on this.
Yeah, I think you're going to have the floor again after public input. So let's just do the
Okay,
public
then I'll
input.
respect that, Mr. Mayor. Thank you.
Yes. Now, I want to remind the public, be courteous, and we're only talking about the scheduling of this executive session.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, council members. My name is Christopher Nunn of Sebastian, Florida. It would surprise me that anybody who has their platform of being elected to this city council on the annexation would be so confused that they have not read the annexation agreement. I've read the annexation agreement. I'm not on city council. I don't have a platform of why I'm running. The meeting needs to be scheduled. Enough of the childish games. Let's get moving forward with what we need to do. I'm sure phone calls will be made so the other council member who's not here will be able to know how to vote. It's all good. They'll know what they need to hear and what they need to think. Thank you, Mr. Mayor, for continuing to run a professional meeting as best you can.
Thank you, sir. Next person.
Good evening, Tim Cole, Sebastian, Florida. I'd like to address this to the various brothers. We want them here. We hope they stick with us. Our problems will be resolved very shortly, and I just hope that this all goes through. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else? Anyone on Zoom?
No one has raised, actually, I do have a hand raised.
Okay.
Michelle, go ahead.
Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, Michelle Morris, Sebastian. I don't understand why it would take so long to just schedule a special meeting to discuss this. And I'm a little unclear as to why it is one council member's job to educate two others who were, in their words, duly elected. It would seem to me that they should have done their homework. And if they have done their homework, maybe they need to set the other council members straight in that they can read and understand what's going on. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else on Zoom? No? All right. Councilwoman Paris, I'm sorry. Do you have anything you'd like to add?
Yes, I just believe it was Councilman, excuse me, I'll put my face on here. I believe it was Councilman Gillian's intention was to inform the public, not ourselves. And forgive me for not remembering the day I was elected and the day I received these papers 6 months ago. It in detail, but this is a small snag and I'm looking forward to the executive session. Absolutely.
Thank you. Councilmember Hill, do you have something you'd like to add?
No, sir.
All right, Vice Mayor Malty.
I just remind everybody that I sat on the Planning and Zoning Commission and I've followed this annexation from the beginning. And I've well read all of this, so I'm well educated on what's going on. So please understand we do not need Mr. Gilliam to educate us. We know what's going on, and that's what we're going to vote on, the facts. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Councilmember Gilliam's, you
Yes.
now have the floor.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. The city attorney just read that page in the annexation agreement. Can the city attorney explain exactly that section D, what that's all about, and break that down for the public so they understand? There's going to be some major decisions being made in the future, and I want to make sure that the public understands exactly what's going on. So if he doesn't mind breaking that down for us, or otherwise I'll be happy to do it for him.
I want to ask him a question, though. Mr. City Attorney, can you say anything without breaching a confidence related to the executive session?
Mr. Mayor, Mr. Mayor, I don't feel comfortable at this point having any conversation about the annexation agreement. This should have been a simple issue. I'm not sure why it's getting too complicated. We are going to have all this discussion, and down the road, it's all going to be public. And that's it. My role is to advise council, not the, at this point, not the citizens at this point of Sebastian. I need to sit together with you, with the outside counsel, who I think drafted the agreement. I'm not even sure, and have this conversation about a specific issue, not the entire section which I read.
I understand, sir. Thank you. Okay, do you have any other questions?
Yeah, Mr. City Attorney, let me ask you this. We, as the city of Sebastian, is defending this lawsuit, and we're also doing it on behalf of the Graves brothers. Is there any liability to the city if we don't pursue this annexation?
You're stepping into the executive session, sir. You're absolutely
It
stepping
says it
into
right
it.
here that we're obligated on behalf of Mr. Graves. It's right here.
Mayor Dodd, point of order.
Excuse me, let's let the city attorney talk. He's back
Point of
online. He
order.
wants to say
I would
something.
ask to call the roll.
Let's let the city attorney talk, sir. Okay.
I would ask to call the roll.
Okay, you're calling the previous question. All right, that takes a vote. Would you call the roll on the previous question motion?
Councilmember Hill?
Yes.
Mayor Dodd,
Councilmember Paris?
Hold on.
we're calling the roll for what?
He's for calling the roll on the motion on the. But right now, we're calling the roll. Okay, let me explain the parliamentary piece here. Councilmember Hill asked that we call the previous question, which means we vote on the motion that was placed.
And the
that has to be
motion was-
voted on before we can vote on the motion. So
No.
it takes a supermajority to do that. So we have to vote on calling the question. So that's what this is.
And his question-
A yes vote means we go on to vote on Councilmember Hill's original motion.
And that was,
Which is,
The original motion is to have the meeting.
His
we can
original motion was to
actually
schedule the meeting on the
discuss it.
22nd prior to our standard scheduled meeting.
At 5.
thank you.
Okay,
okay.
all right. So we're calling the roll. I understand it gets complicated, but I guess we just have to do it this way. I can't just call a vote on a motion with a member objecting without passing a resolution to call the roll on the motion.
Charles, they're looking to stop me from speaking, so this is how it calls.
Would you call the roll, please? That's not
Council-
debatable, sir.
excuse
me.
It's not debatable, sir.
Councilmember Hills, yes. Councilmember Paris?
Yes,
Mayor Dodd?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Motti?
No.
Councilmember Gilliams?
Howard.
Okay.
All right, Councilmember Gilliams, you still have the floor.
So, I just want to get clarification, because in this annexation agreement, we are defending Graves Brothers, and we have to make sure that this city defends them right to the end.
All right.
And we're going to be picking up that expense right to the end. So, Mr. Mayor, when we meet, because I'm going to vote for the executive session, don't get me wrong. I will vote for the executive session. But I just want you to be prepared to let the Graves Brothers know that I'm going to require additional security money in escrow.
Councilmember Gilliams, you can't require anything. You are a single member of this council.
I can make a
So
recommendation.
would you please quit talking like you're the king of Sebastian?
All right,
I know
sir.
you gave me that title.
yeah.
I don't want to give it back.
So what I'm asking is at the executive session to have legal counsel prepared to look into the fact that if we're going to proceed,
Would you please stop? You are extending into the executive session, which you cannot do.
I know
Would
what
you
I can
please
do.
stop?
I know what I'm allowed to do under the statute.
No, you don't. That's the problem. You think you know, but you don't know what the statutes say. The problem is you're so misinformed on a lot of this stuff, you don't understand what the statute says. You cannot discuss in public what we're discussing in an executive session, period. You can't do it. So either vote to go to the executive session and say your
All right,
piece.
listen, I'm done arguing with you. You're a tyrant. I had enough. Let's just proceed.
All right, now, please, the original motion from Councilmember Hill was that we schedule an executive session at 5 p.m. Prior to the 22nd, July 22nd council meeting. And I seconded that motion. A yes vote means that we schedule that executive session on the 22nd at 5 p.m.
Okay.
Would you call the roll, please?
Councilmember Paris?
yes,
Mayor Dodd?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Motti?
Any chance I'm moving that date up?
You can
All I can
vote
tell you
yes
is
or
vote-
no.
vote-
How about that?
vote-
You have a question,
Yeah, vote
answer
no.
yes or no.
You'll have to vote no on the motion, and if it doesn't pass, then we can talk about another date. I mean, it was referring to what the council requested that we do.
No.
Councilmember Gilliams?
All right, that motion passes 3-2.
Oh, I still have to vote.
Yes. Councilmember Hill?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Absolutely.
Yes, you're the third one.
Yeah.
Okay. That motion passes 3-2. We've scheduled the executive session for 5 p.m. on the 22nd day of July. The normal council meeting, as it appears, may have to be pushed up a little bit, but we'll have to handle that as we go through the process with that. Okay.
Mr. Mayor, on that meeting, is there something else I can make sure that's on that agenda for that executive session?
No, you
Why
can't.
not?
You have to send that to the city manager and request
We're
it to be
setting up a
placed on the
meeting.
agenda, and it's up to the city manager and city attorney, because the executive session was requested by the city attorney to talk about a specific item. Okay? No other items on our agenda. We're adjourned.